The 1708 slave rebellion mentioned in the March 28 article as happening to Richard Alsop's associate, William Hallett, has all kinds of interesting ties to colonial history and slave history. Not only is it perhaps the first documented case of an enslaved people's rebellion by two or more people in New York City, by an enslaved Indian man named Sam and an unnamed black woman, but the enslaver, William Hallett III, was the grandson of Elizabeth Winthrop Feake Hallett. Elizabeth was born in London in 1610 and married her cousin Henry Winthrop in 1629. Henry was the son of John Winthrop, future governor of Massachusetts, but Henry died 1 year later, leaving Elizabeth with their child. Elizabeth came to Massachusetts in 1631, and her uncle the governor arranged a marriage for her with Lieutenant Robert Feake, a wealthy man who was also severely mentally ill. Because of the shifting influence of the various colonial powers at this time, Elizabeth sought a divorce from Robert in Dutch courts, but not in English courts. So when Elizabeth got married again to William Hallett, many people considered her a bigamist because she had not been properly divorced. To escape this new scandal, Elizabeth and William emigrated to New Netherlands and lived in what is now Astoria, Queens, in the area now called Halletts Cove. In 1655, some of the native people the Europeans were displacing attacked and destroyed the house and plantation at Halletts Cove, and the Halletts moved to Flushing and continued purchasing lands around Newtown Creek and rebelling against the English. This was a common occurrence in the centuries-long battle as Europeans took over the continent. In 1643, a Staten Island colony was abandoned for 4 years after some Raritan Indians attacked and burned the farm. This happened again in 1655. Also in 1643, most of the plantations on Long Island were destroyed. The houses burned down, and many people were slain during the Indian uprising. The Annals of Newtown Creek, written by James Riker, tells us that Hallett was appointed sheriff in 1656, but the same year was deposed by Governor Stuyvesant, fined and imprisoned for entertaining the Reverend William Wickenden from Rhode Island, allowing him to preach at his house and receive the sacrament of the Lord's Supper from his hands. The whole point of Rhode Island, as Europeans saw it, was to found a government where church and state were separate. This idea was terrible rebellion to the Puritan authorities of Massachusetts and to the Dutch rulers of New Netherlands, where the only public religious worship allowed was the Dutch Reformed Church. As Stokes' iconography of Manhattan Island explains, William Hallett II, a Baptist, who was confirmed as scout or prosecuting officer of Flushing in March 1656, is now held a prisoner by order of Stuyvesant and the council because he has the audacity to call and allow to be called conventicles and gatherings at his house, and in violation of the provincial ordinances has permitted an exegesis and interpretation of God's holy word, together with the administration and service of the sacraments by one William Wickendam, all of which the authorities declare to be in direct contradiction with the general political and ecclesiastical rules of the mother country. Hallett is dismissed from his office, fined £50, and ordered banished from New Netherland. Meanwhile, held a prisoner until his fine and the costs of the court are paid. This suppression would not accomplish its goal, as we know that by 1724, a Hallett descendant named Gideon Hallett had a Quaker meeting house on the farm. 10 years after his arrest, William Hallett II was in hot water for contracting jobs he didn't even start. An 1882 History of Queens tells us that, in January 1666, it was ordered that a sessions house and prison be built in Jamaica. The contractor, William Hallett II, failed to perform his contract, and in 1669 the court decided that the building must be completed by next Christmas Day or he be fined £10. The jail got built. He didn't get fined. Then the rebellion.